Keeping them honest with a 13-year-old honors student and athlete who dreams of college and going to a good high school. He's speaking out tonight, talking about a bunch of adults who he says are insulting his intelligence with fear and ignorance. He's talking about how a prestigious boarding school has turned him away, an institution, Pennsylvania's Milton Hershey School, with a long and proud tradition of helping kids just like him, but denying him admission for one single reason: he's HIV positive. School officials say openly they're afraid he may have sex with a fellow student one day and spread the virus. Yet, as you'll see, they're not letting the public know what kind of medical advice led to that conclusion. Even though in any case, the Hershey School is a highly structured, highly supervised environment. Even though condoms block the spread of HIV and taking antiviral drugs, as this boy is, lowers the risk of transmission even during unprotected sex by 96%. That said, the school claims it simply cannot take any chances, even though barring this student, known in court papers as John Doe, would seem to violate the Americans with Disabilities Act. I spoke to the school spokeswoman earlier. In a legal document, you have written, quote, "The school has made an individualized assessment as required by the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and its implementing regulations, and determined that John Doe would pose a direct threat." That's the language you've also used just now. I want to read you from a question and answer document put out by the Justice Department, by their Civil Rights Division, to inform people about the American with Disabilities Act. In this document, it says, and I quote, there's a question, quote, "Can a public accommodation exclude a person with HIV/AIDS because that person allegedly poses a direct threat to the health and safety of others?" Answer: in almost every instance, the answer to this question is no. Persons with HIV/AIDS will rarely, if ever, pose a direct threat in the public accommodations context. So given that, how can you still claim there's a direct threat?
Because we're a very unique institution.
School spokeswoman Connie McNamara. Beyond that claim, though, that the Milton Hershey School is somehow unique because it's a residential school as well, it's like a boarding school, I wanted to know what, if any, scientific basis they had for keeping this child out. What medical evidence was your decision based on?
We did a thorough review. We had the admissions committee and our senior administration, along with our medical staff, review the case. So
you had a doctor or medical professionals consulting on this?
Yes.
And they advised you that there was a risk of having an HIV positive child in the school?
I wasn't in those discussions, Anderson, but I can tell you that the decision at the end of the day was that in balancing the risks, we had to think about those other 2,000 students in our home.
Well, we wanted to know more, especially after speaking with Emory University Medical Center's Dr. Kimberly Manning.
I need to point out this was a decision that was rooted in fear, not because of public health concern, because if this was truly for public health purposes, they would have sought the counsel of the appropriate medical professionals who would have then told them of the compelling data that has demonstrated that those who are taking antiretroviral therapy, if indeed they do have sexual intercourse with someone HIV negative, the chances of getting HIV is minimal in those instances.
So who did this school consult with? We emailed Connie McNamara today. She replied saying she had no comment because of pending litigation, the lawsuit filed on this teenager's behalf. But as we said, the boy is speaking out. Through his lawyer, by email, the teenager, whom again the school has referred to in court papers only as John Doe, answered some of my questions tonight. He says, quote, "I'm not a threat to anyone." He adds, "If anything, the lawyers and spokesperson for the school are a direct threat to me by insulting my intelligence, as though I do not understand or know the consequences of having unprotected sex." Then he asks, who wants to have sex anyway at my age? He wants the school to, quote, "stop making like I'm this vermin that's out to get the student body at Milton Hershey."